Look at this. Woo! That's a people carrier and a half. There's bats all over the wall. Yeah, I know they are. Look at them. So you'll see American military stomping on the head of a peasant there. So I'm just round the back of the Chinook here. Look at that. I imagine if you press these, you can hear the sound of the bomb or the warhead. That was the weapon of choice, right, in Vietnam? The M16, I'm sure it was. Alright, we're just getting our tickets. Cash only, no card. Bring cash. Good afternoon. We're in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City. And today we're going to have a look at the War Museum, the War Remnants Museum in Ho Chi Minh, and see what we can find. Already outside, we paid the admission. It was just less than $2 each, around $1.75. You get to look at some ex-US military equipment, hopefully some Vietnamese stuff as well, maybe even some Soviet things too. So let's take a look, see what they have. Wow, so already, wow, look at this. It's absolutely insane, some of the stuff they have here, but not only that, the condition of it as well. Look, got an F-5A jet fighter, look at that. Yeah, look at the condition. I imagine they've been restored a little, but absolutely amazing. I have a video at, I don't remember the name now. It was a military Air Force base in Merced in California. I'll try and remember to link it below. We saw a lot of planes. There are a lot of military planes. Oh, U-17. So you can check that out, but it's the first time sort of seeing some of this stuff in other countries. Look inside the cabin there. It's quite hard to see, but looks like a lot of the internals were stripped before it went on display, but it looks like it has the original kind of roof in there, and wow, looks great, doesn't it? So yeah, we literally just arrived, I know as much as you do right now. I had a little look on Google to see what they had, what it was about, ticket prices and various things, but other than that, I have no idea what to expect at all. I know a little bit about the Vietnam War, so maybe I can pass on what I know. You can add more in the comments below, or you can correct me in the same place. But from my understanding, Vietnam War. Now the Vietnam War, people say 1955 to 75, I think it is. Look at this, wow. Let's get a peek in here. My understanding, that was the US's involvement in the war anyway. I'm sure that's why it's sort of one of the most famous wars, just because of US's involvement and how it all kind of went a little bit wrong. If you know anything, oh look at that, anything about Vietnam today, you'll know the US backed out. It was sort of reunified, and here we are today, 2024, in the middle of summer. It's absolutely boiling, and these metal plates are hot. Wow, it looks amazing, doesn't it? So yeah, Vietnam. So it was sort of ruled by France in the 1800s. Tiger cages are torture devices. I don't think they're actually cages for tigers. I just stepped on what looks like a jackfruit. Look at that. Oh, there's a jackfruit tree there, a durian tree. So yeah, you see a lot of French influence here. I think only like 1% of the people speak French today, but you do see French clothing brands, French, like Parker Pen and things like that, French clothing brands, different things. But also the guillotine, look, speaking of France, brought by the French in Vietnam. Then 1945, I think it was, Ho Chi Minh City. I think he went to France actually. He tried to declare independence for Vietnam following the Second World War. Look at that. Oh, it could be original. I wonder if it's a remake. I'm not sure. Oh wow, look at that. I don't think I've ever seen a guillotine before. So yeah, Ho Chi Minh, he's on a lot of the currency here. Very big figure. There's statues of him in town, and he's sort of, wow, look. Oh yeah, that looks legit. Let's keep out of there. Whew. There's not the same safety standards here. They're the tiger cages. Look, you would have, well, these look like the mini ones. You'd probably have 2 or 3 people in the ones at the back. There's pretty much all you can do is lie down in there. It's almost like a torture/storage device. Insane. But yeah, Ho Chi Minh is credited for getting Vietnam its independence, but not only that, reunifying the country so they can all be one big happy country. Wow, look at this. The little cells there. Danger. I like how you can just walk up here. What? Oh, are you scared? What? Alright, let's have a look what that's about. Alright, calm down. Calmer. Oh my god. Alright, yeah, I see. Jeez. Got you. Do you need to go to the toilet and let something out? Iron. Oh, what? What are you doing? Bats. Well, real bats. Okay. Alright, we're gonna have a look at the real bats. Well, when she gets involved, my video goes crazy. Out goes the organizer. Oh, you're not kidding. Oh, we didn't even... Did you guys see that when I was here a second ago?
Be careful, be careful.
Look. There's bats all over the wall.
They're moving.
Yeah, I know they are. Look at them. Oh yeah, they're all awake. I don't want to get too close, but... Oh, wow.
Oh shit.
Hello. If they start storming me, then I'm going to backflip down there, which wouldn't be very good. Okay, we found the radius. About 70 centimeters.
They don't like the lights.
If you're not sure what a centimeter is, then Google it. But I think there's around 15 centimeters to 6 inches for you countries that still do the imperial system. Wow. All right, back where we were. The iron gill. I thought it said grill. The water forced prisoners to take off their clothes and roll over and over. Ooh. Oh my god. It don't seem too bad, but I think the worst part would be probably these on the sides there. But I mean, if you got a guy telling you to do it all day long, it's gonna sting a bit. That just looks like horrible. To be honest, it looks like a huge waste of that guard's time. I feel like there's other torture methods that are a bit more efficient. Equally though, oh horrible. Some of the traps in the Vietnam War are absolutely insane. Some of the holes with spikes and things. What else we got here? Bombs. Wow. Oh yeah, these have been retreated and everything here. Let's see if we can get a closer look. Wow. Wow, no kidding. Woo. So during the Vietnam War, the US were well capable of nuclear bombs. Obviously that... Oh, no entry. I think we've reached the limit. That sort of concluded the whole Pearl Harbor saga anyway. And we had Japan's complete and total surrender. So they were well capable of doing this during the Vietnam War. Obviously, you can't really go bombing other countries with nuclear weapons all the time. And by that time, I believe the Soviet Union sort of caught up with that technology. And here we sit today with everyone bearing nuclear arms. Not everyone, but a lot of opposing forces. And I think it's a situation where you just want to avoid that, but maybe everything up until that moment. Alright, this looks like this is a gift shop here. What else did I miss? We did Ho Chi Minh, Japan. Okay, yeah, I think the only thing we didn't cover was Japan's involvement in Vietnam. So, like I said, the French were here. And when Japan came in, I think around the time of the Second World War, they started executing French officials in Vietnam. And it sort of really marks the beginning of the end for French occupation in what is now modern-day Vietnam. So when Japan surrendered, it's not really like the French had much of a foothold in here anymore, and I suppose it made his Ho Chi Minh's there, look, there he is, cheeky chappy. I guess it made his negotiations a little bit easier for independence of modern-day Vietnam. Looks like here we have some articles here about Cuba, the Cold War. Wow. So during the Vietnam War, you had China and Russia supplying weapons to the Vietnamese, Viet Cong. But pretty much like the Ukraine war today, you know, people supply with weapons. Maybe they don't want to get directly involved or whatnot, but it seems to be a pattern that tends to repeat. Different generations don't see it firsthand, but if you like your history, you can, you know, read all about it and see that that cycle does repeat, really. I think that's pretty much all my knowledge of the Vietnam War. If you have anything else, comment below. It'd be great to learn more. I'm not a history expert by any means, but we learned a little in school. I picked up a bit on my travels. I hope it's 100% accurate. I think it is. Yeah, look at this. Oh no. I imagine if you press these, you can hear the sound of the bomb or the warhead, but it's not working right now. Wow, look at that. Oh, this is napalm. They use napalm. Look at that. Imagine that. Imagine you're a little Vietnamese boy chilling in your forest, in your jungle, and all of a sudden chemical explosions just engulf your home, your friends, your family. Absolutely insane, isn't it? Look at this. Wow. Is that a fully automatic mounted to a boat? Chair doesn't look too comfy, does it? But I imagine there was a cushion on there at some point. You got your friend steering the boat at the back here, right there, and I imagine you had lots of troops, infantry there. Yeah, the US were very ill-equipped for the the jungle terrain of the Vietnam War. I think that's an understatement, but it goes to show you that muscle, power, money doesn't always win a war, you know. I think we learned that in a few places we went to, especially when the British went to Boston. A lot of American museums like to say they won that war, but they put up a good fight for sure, considering what they had available at the time against a huge equipped army. Like I say, history tends to repeat itself in different ways. But it does go to show that knowledge of the battlefield and strategic planning can sometimes win a war. But I think, lots of pressure from America's people, forcing people into a war they didn't want to be in. A good chance you're going to get killed and never come home. Lots of things combined ultimately ended the war. 1975. Not too long later, Saigon fell. It was sort of renamed Ho Chi Minh City, but some people don't really care and call it Saigon anyway. I tried to ask some of the locals about that, but they don't seem to really have much of an opinion. They're just more focused on everyday life. It's, to be honest, it seems a lot of my friends in other countries that care a lot more about the war and the politics of things. So that's definitely a different, interesting cultural exchange. But not talking about tour guides, but we have a lot of friends here, and yeah, they don't seem to really care or have an opinion. I tried to have a discussion with them about it, but yeah, it's quite interesting, the differences in different cultures, what people seem to care about, think about, and yeah, it's quite interesting. Look at that. It's almost like a plow. It's just like, it's almost like a deforestizer here. What's this? Yeah, there it is. The ground clearance projects. Oh, exactly that. Yeah, just pushing all those pesky trees out the way. Woo. So hopefully during this trip we can see some of the tunnels which were dug. So they had an underground network of tunnels. They had weapon supply routes going through Laos and neighboring countries, supplying the war. So hopefully we can see a lot more things during this trip. But this is the War Remnants Museum in Ho Chi Minh City. Definitely one of the stops you should take. It's right in the middle of the city. And yeah, probably one of the places with the highest concentration of tourists in the whole city, I suppose, apart from West Street. But wow, pretty much a lot of ex-US Army equipment. That's what you're gonna see here. You know, the war didn't happen when the US involved themselves. It's been going on a little time before that, but you know, big military powers seem to write the history books sometimes. But what you're gonna see at this museum is a lot of ex-US military equipment. Look at this. Woo! That's a people carrier and a half, isn't it? Look at that. Wow. That's what you see in movies like Red Scorpion with Dolph Lundgren. Oh, there it is. Look, the CH-47 Chinook. Twin engine. Whoa. If one of the engines goes out on this, does it survive? I don't think so, but you know, I don't know much about the Chinook other than what I've seen in movies and museums. 2 M134 machine guns, infrared ray camera, and a high rate radar. Wow. That's sort of like the hallmark, isn't it? The icon. You watch any Vietnam War movies, you see a Chinook. Woo! Especially at the start of the movie where they ship the soldiers in and they're all arriving, then everything kicks off. But yeah, absolutely amazing. Even if you don't know anything about the war, I'm not saying I do, I know a bit, but even if you don't know anything, it's just nice to take a few pictures and have a look around. It's absolutely amazing, really. And for the price point of less than $2, I think it's quite nice to spend an hour of your day here. Yeah, it's funny. They've covered up all the sharp pieces. So yeah, it's a shame we can't really see inside the Chinook because the plexiglass perspex is all kind of weathered away. It's oxidized from the sun and the heat, so I don't think I'm that tall. I'll see if I can peek in now before we end the video. But yeah, other than that, that's the War Remnants Museum. It's not bad, is it? I don't think the inside's too much to shout about, but you can learn a bit in there. But I think the outside looks pretty cool. All right, let's have a look. So I'm just around the back of the Chinook here. Look, there's actually steps where you can put your feet to climb up here. Look, you can put one of your trotters in each of these, and then you can sort of mount it right up there. That's super cool. A lot of the things in America, if you go to the museums there, they'll have ropes going all the way around these things so you can't get anywhere near them. But it's nice that you can actually touch it, interact with it. You can even crawl all the way underneath it. I'm sure someone will shout at me, but it's, you know, it actually looks pretty cool. So you're like, oh, what's this? Let's have a little look. And yeah, lo and behold, right there, look. Yeah, super interesting, super cool. I wish some of the museums in America and Europe would let you sort of, maybe not interact with it, but crawl underneath. That would be super cool. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Look how weathered these tires are here, look. It's amazing how long it's survived. Wow. Here's a bell made from a unexploded bomb canister right here. I mean, we saw a lot of them before right over there, but you can actually make it sound. Let's give it a go. Oh wow, it's a good vibration there. If you want to pause, you can see the story there. But yeah, what a lot of people don't realize, obviously leaders do, but when people pull out of war, so many things are left behind. Not only, you know, horrible memories, dead bodies, you know, the wounds of war, but actually a lot of the equipment, the after effects, perhaps chemical exposure, all things like this. Lots of things people don't really think about. If you take a trip from Ho Chi Minh City to Hanoi, you will see a lot of ex-military equipment like you see right here. Some in museums restored and looked after like this, but some just left in the middle of nowhere in the jungles. People have actually turned some of this equipment into their everyday shelters and homes. So if you go to some villages in remote areas, you will see parts from Chinooks, tanks, even missiles. They use it as structures, girders for their housing, which is absolutely insane. And your average person, say in an American school system, would have no idea about this, especially because I lived in America for 10 years and the school system tends to teach you about American history, not necessarily Vietnam War, or at least you would have to go to a specialized college to learn about something like that. But especially they're not going to teach you about kids using unexploded bomb shells as the sort of shelters for the accommodation, you know, in remote villages. It's something you sort of have to learn yourself, and this is where you learn all about both sides of the situation. You know, there's never really a winner or a loser of a war, but it's definitely interesting as a tourist to sort of see everything that happened from both sides. Amazing, really. Wow. See if we can have a peek inside here. Look at this. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I think the hinges are a little stiff on there. Wow, look at that. This one actually opens up, look at this. I'm curious if it's just something as simple as pigeon protection. So you can still get the airflow, but you're not going to get a bird or something, some shrapnel in there. Yeah, it looks super interesting. I think we can get a better look inside from this side here. You can see some of the controls here. Wow. So there's actually 3 floors inside this museum. Oh, look at these, look. You can see mortars, all different kinds of guns right here. Wow, look at these. Oh, these are all mortars, look. Mini mortar, mortar grande, mortar mediano. Amazing. Yeah, it gives you a lot of facts, a lot of maps. I think we covered some of this in the video already, but I had no idea this was up here. There he is, look. I have noticed that this museum is sort of orientated around the US's involvement in the war. So it'll sort of... look, this section here talks about all the bombs and chemicals and things that were dropped. Look at that. Crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it'll talk about chemicals, napalm, Agent Orange, all this kind of stuff. Give you the stats, the figures, and things like that. But when I say it's geared around Americans, if you look at this one, it just talks about America's involvement in the wars. But I think I already spoke in the video that, you know, the war isn't just America's involvement in the war. It's, you know, it is a war. But yeah, like I say, you know, bigger powers tend to... Well, but like I say, bigger powers, you know, museums seem to orientate things around those bigger powers. Well, that was mounted to a Jeep. Look at that thing. Woof. Wow. Bazooka. Woohoo. You know, something really interesting when I was in America for some time, I used to go to a lot of yard sales. And yard sales in Nevada, you know, more in the country, you'd see some interesting things there. You'd see a lot of things that you aren't supposed to see at yard sales, including some things perhaps in that room. I remember one time I was selling a PlayStation 4 on Facebook Marketplace, and someone said, "Oh, would you trade it for an AK-47?" And I'm like, what? So, coming from the UK, a British background, someone's trying to give me an AK-47 for a PlayStation 4. I'm thinking this is crazy, but the longer I lived there, the more normal it became, you know, it's insane. But maybe it's a Nevada thing, I don't know, but I definitely saw this similar in Arizona. Maybe it's a southern state thing, I'm not sure. Alright, yeah, a lot of history and pictures and things. It's quite interesting. It's a lot you can see on the internet, but there are a lot of graphic things you can see as well. Some of the torture devices and various things. It's good. In the last room I got told not to film, so I'm being a bit more covert now. So we're in another room now. This one's really pouring on the hate for America. They're showing birth defects as a result of chemical weapons like Agent Orange and things like that. Birth defects that continue through generations. Kids born with malformed joints, cleft lip and all things like that, and miscarriages. But there's a lot of hate towards the American military in a lot of these rooms now. It's quite interesting. So you'll see American military stomping on the head of a peasant there. Water torture. So you sort of pour the liquid on the head. US Marines rounding up suspects, but I think it's the wording as well they choose to use on some of these images here. It's definitely interesting. When I was in America, I saw something similar. It's sort of slightly geared towards where the museum's located in the world and how you take in the information. So there's always going to be a bit of bias. It's sort of true, but it's always quite interesting when you go to different museums around the world, how the information is sort of displayed and how you take it in. But yeah, it's quite interesting. Look at that one. Yeah, look at this, look. Absolutely insane. You're not going to be able to see this in any museum in America anyway. So this room we're in now is, I think it's called the Agent Orange room, hence the paint on the walls. You see a rough map of where the chemicals were deployed there. Estimations obviously, but also some of the carriers here, the containers where the weapons were, the deployment of the chemical weapons as well, but also some of the deformities suffered. If you're wondering where some of those people on TikTok came from, well, I'm not saying here, but it gives you a bit of an idea, doesn't it? Wow. Yeah, absolutely insane. Insane. Look at this cool little gadget down here. Air-delivered seismic intrusion detector. It's like little bits of rubber on a stick. I'm sure it would work in theory. Maybe better than a dowsing rod or something like that, but yeah. In the same room you can see a lot of the after effects here of various villages, towns, cities as a result of US bombing. This whole room is a room of tragedy, really. There's a remnants of a B-52 bomber right here, look. Here's some of the weapons here. Here you go, it's a M1 Garand rifle there, semi-automatic, fitted with a grenade launcher. Wow. The lighting's not too great in here, maybe this angle will be a little better. Little light machine gun there, killing operations. M16. Yeah, wow. That was the weapon of choice, right, in Vietnam? The M16, I'm sure it was. I'm sure a lot of the troops got one with a little bunny hat. Unless I'm remembering totally wrong, but guns are definitely not my forte. Ah, look at these. Ah, grenade launchers, chemical grenade launchers. Wow, look at that. Belgium automatic rifle here. What's the dog of choice? There's the dog of choice. What breed is the dog of choice? Comment below. I'm not sure. Heavy machine gun. Woo. Wow. Automatic rifles there. Absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. I went to a gun museum in, what state was it? It was one of those states in the middle of nowhere. I want to say Iowa or something like that, but I think it, or maybe Nebraska. I think it was off Route 66. I don't know, but I wonder if that museum had some of these. It was like a huge Walmart supercenter or Tesco Extra full of guns. Look at that. Yeah, look, bazooka there. Look. I wonder if they had some of these weapons. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It was so long ago, but. Okay, so that was the War Remnants Museum, not just a War Remnant Museum. I think that's the outside and a bit downstairs, but also a bit of a history of the Vietnam War. I certainly learned a lot more than I came in with, so it's been a successful day, especially for only like $1.80 or something like that. Super cheap. It's super nice there's not a price on learning history, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the tour and see you in the next video. Take care. Alright, where do we go now?